Hey guys, this is AwesomeJohn22 coming at you with another review. This time, as promised, we're taking a look at some of the accessory Zords for the Power Rangers Super Megaforce Legendary Megazord that I reviewed recently. Starting with two of the Zords at the smaller scale and lower price point. 2 out of 3 of them, and we'll get to why there's only 2 of them here in a moment. You may recognize the Mystic Force Dragon over here. Over here we have, I believe it's called the Red Zeo Racer. It is based on the Red Battle Zord from Power Rangers Zeo, and you can see their individual Ranger keys standing next to the Zords. Let's take a really quick look at those in detail. You can see on the left here we have a very nice little facsimile of the Red Zeo Ranger, as we know, who, as we know, is the Eternal Ranger, Jason David Frank. Or Tommy, as he's known in the series. And over here we have the Red Mystic Force, or Magi Ranger. And they look good. They're Ranger keys. There's nothing really special about them. But they look good, and they activate gimmicks and all that other stuff. And they're a good shelf piece. They look good standing on a shelf. I usually have them lined up from back to front, from my favorite series to my least favorite. Each one of these Zords does come with a Red Ranger key. But it looks like we're only getting 4 of these things overall. So, yeah, there's not going to be like a huge variety there. You're actually going to have to buy the Ranger Key 3-packs, which I may eventually get one of those and show them off to you. But for now, we're not going to focus on the Ranger Keys anymore. We're just going to set them to the side because we have already seen the gimmick of Mystic Force Dragon over here flapping his wings in the Legendary Megazord review, so we're not going to focus on it. In fact, we are going to get this guy out of the way pretty quick because we have already taken a look at him. Bring this in a little bit, look at some of the detail here. You can see he does have a painted head with painted eyes, painted claws, painted feet, and that's really it. There's really no other paint on this guy at all whatsoever. Not a terrible facsimile of the Mystic Force Dragon, but not particularly good either. And in fact, I am very disappointed in this guy. On the Japanese version, he had like rainbow coloring on his wings and stuff, and it's just disappointing because I really loved Mystic Force. I thought it was a cool series. I really loved the Mystic Force Dragon. I loved the concept of the other Rangers becoming a mount for the Red Ranger. Something that was never done before, and something that's never been done again, and I thought it was pretty awesome. So yeah, let's take a look at this guy's transformation. It's very, very simple. You pop the wings off the back, and then they're just separate from that point forward. They don't peg together. And then you come here and you unpeg these bits, and then you come here, you fold the head down, fold this crest in, and fold the entire neck section down into the front of the body. And now you have him ready to combine with our friend Legendary Megazord over here. So we're going to pan up and we're going to take a look at this. Bring these pegs out on the sides. This one's already out because I'm a loser. And we're going to come here, plug these wings in, come down here to the feet, which you cannot see, and plug these dragon feet into the Megazord feet. And then we come up here, open the plank, and we plug the dragon head in there. And then, as I showed off in the Legendary Megazord review, closing the plank again, we can bring a Ranger key in, and insert it the wrong way, and then insert it the wrong way again somehow, and then pop the dragon head out. And that's pretty cool, and it's pretty true to the Japanese version, though, like I said in the Legendary Megazord review, on the Japanese version, the feet and wings would also fold out of the Zord. So moving him back a bit and panning up again, let's take a quick look at the Legendary Megazord with the Mystic Force Dragon. And you can see, zooming in a little bit, The dragon head is pretty prominent there. He does have the big giant wings. They do come up pretty far on either side. The dragon feet do a good job of looking like they're replacing the feet on the Megazord. But overall, there's not really that much change. It's cool, but it's not super substantial. And I know a lot of people didn't like the gimmick of this season for that reason. Ow. And I know a lot of people didn't like the gimmick of this season for that reason, that it doesn't really do that much to the Megazord to combine with other Zords. And in fact, we're actually going to see another example of that in a moment. Looking at the second Zord here, which we are actually going to take a longer look at because I do like this Zord significantly more. So, real quick, let's return Legendary Megazord to his regular form through the power of jump cuts. And now we're going to set him aside, and we're going to take a look at the second accessory Zord that I have waiting here for you today. The Red Zeo Racer. Get a close-up on it. You can see some very cool gold plastic with some very cool etchings that are very reminiscent of Zeo. Right alongside you can see little guns and tank treads. Back here you can see wheels with what look like Gatling guns on them, and I want to point out those were not painted when I got the figure. I painted those myself. The Red Ranger's star representing the number 5. More gold plastic. Overall, it's a pretty nice looking toy. I certainly like it. It has a lot of heft to it, whereas Mystic Force Dragon really didn't. And the panning down so I can actually set this guy down real quick. This toy is the only version of this mold that I have, and I want to explain that real quick. There was also an SPD Red Ranger's Zord, I can't remember what it's called, that was in effectively the same mold. It just had more of a curved front. And it's actually the one that appears in the show. This one doesn't appear in the show at all. But quite frankly, I liked Zeo a lot more than SPD, so I bought this one instead. And I'm kind of glad I did. This one just looks more interesting to me. I might try to include an image of the SPD version in the video if I can figure out how. But just trust me on this. This one looks better. And with that said, that's why I do not have the third of these figures. While I would have gone and picked up the SPD version for this review, I was unable to find it at any of the stores near me. So, zooming back out real quick, let's take a look at what this guy can do. And mostly he just does what Mystic Force Dragon did, and he pops apart. And it's really easy, just so long as you don't pull in the wrong places, and in which case things won't go where you want them to go and they'll fly all over the place. But yeah, here we have what is clearly an arm of some kind, though now you fold this out and it's a blaster because it's not long enough to actually be an arm. Do that on both sides. This is going to be the chest piece, obviously. But what are these? Well, these can be a couple things, and I will explain that in a moment. Now, I do want to point out there is a gimmick for this thing. Again, I'll try to find a picture of it and put it in the video. But I'm not going to show it to you because it's stupid. Basically, you rearrange these into the shape of a gun turret, and it has a missile shooting gimmick through that hole there in the front of this piece. And you do it by inserting a key there. And it's stupid, and I hate it. So let's bring our friend Legendary Megazord back in here again so we can take a look at what this guy does. Now, first of all, I want to point out these pieces, like I said, they have a couple places they can go. First and foremost, in the instructions, we are told to put them here. So this is where I'm going to start. We plug them in exactly where we plugged in the dragon feet from the Mystic Force Zord. We're also going to come up here to the arms of the Zord and remove his weapons, which will holster there on the sides if I'm actually patient enough to do it. And plug in instead the arm blasters, which are reminiscent of the Red Battlezord's Gatling guns. Then we're going to open up the chest and insert this here. And this is another thing I really want to point out, and this is true on both versions of this mold. If you look right here, you can see indentations where peg holes were supposed to go, and I even tried to drill one in, but the plastic's just a little too strong. I'm afraid it'll split. You can see, maybe, I don't know, let me try getting close enough that you can actually see this. In the Legendary Megazord, there you go, there are 2 pegs, and you're supposed to be able to peg those pegs into the holes on this, but there are no holes, so it just kind of sits in there, and it sits in there pretty well. It's not going to fall out unless you really shake the thing or turn it completely horizontal or something. But it's a little frustrating that it doesn't actually attach the way it's supposed to. Still, all things said and done, I think this thing looks really cool, even with leg cannons, I guess you would call them. Straighten up the camera a little bit. I still think this thing looks really cool. The kind of eclectic, rustic, old-timey, some word I can't think of, design of the guns makes them look kind of piratey, and along with the whole other motif. And I just like it. I like it a lot. Now, I mentioned there are other things you can do with these weapons down here, and there are, panning down again, you can attach them instead to the sides of the legs. You can also come up here and attach them to the arms. There's a lot of things you can do, and that's that universal joint system. You can even, if you want, come up here to these ports on the tops of the Megazord that up to this point have no purpose, and attach them there as shoulder cannons. And I think that looks pretty freaking awesome. Shoulder cannons are awesome, but they don't sit quite flat, and it's a little annoying. But overall, there's a lot of options, and I like options. And since this thing never showed up in the show, you can kind of create your own cannon appearance for it, which is pretty nice. And I like it. I give this one a very high rating, whereas I give the Mystic Force Dragon only kind of a meh. I say, though, if you're interested in the Legendary Megazord, it's like every other Megazord ever. You have to at least get one figure to, show off the gimmick. And quite frankly, if you're only going to get one, it shouldn't be either one of these. It should be the subject of my next review. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to end this one on a high note, that being this figure. And, yeah. Like, subscribe, leave a comment down below if you feel so inclined. In the description down below, there is a link to my blog as well as to my collections video. Check out said video. If there's anything in that video that you'd like me to review, let me know and I will see what I can do. This has been AwesomeJohn22, and I will talk to you guys later.